Hey everybody, welcome to episode 9 of the RI Amateur Series podcast presented by GolfNewsRI. I'm Joe Calabro, as always, and joining me today for episode 9, super excited to have University of Notre Dame golf star Andrew O'Leary. Andrew, thanks so much for taking some time, just a couple of hours away from the tournament, but thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Really appreciate it, and a little familiar with GolfNewsRI, and just happy to help be here.
Awesome. Thanks so much. So let's just start there. I want to get into a bunch of different things, including a trip down memory lane to the Northeast Amateur, which was just a couple of weeks ago, and your sparkling round of 64. But let's just start with the RI Amateur. We're literally just hours away, one sleep away, as they say in the sports world. What's the feeling like? How you feeling? What's the preparation been like? And I know you tee off, again, we're literally just hours away from it.
Yeah, no, I feel good. I got put a practice round this week on Thursday and kind of got a feel for the course. I had played there in the U.S. 4-ball qualifier with my dad like four years ago or so, but since then they've done some renovations and I really like the course. It's always in great shape, and I think it's going to be pretty scoreable this week, especially with the softer conditions. But I mean, the game in general feels good, and I'm excited to get after it.
Now, you went to this RI Amateur seeking your third straight finals appearance. Now, the last person to do that was Brad Valois from 2006, 2008. Is that a focus? Obviously, you're trying to win the title, but is that something that you think about? Is that did you know that stat that it hasn't been done in however many years it's been?
I didn't know that. I feel like, I mean, for me at least, I'm better off not thinking about any records or something, and just kind of keeping my mind focused on the end goal this week, which is obviously to win. And if I tie history or something like that, and then great. But obviously I just want to stay focused on what I have to do.
Absolutely. So let's talk about your game a little bit. Let's go back to the Northeast Amateur. That's kind of where the tournament season starts locally. Obviously, it's a big tournament for you and for most collegiates. You made the cut, shot 64 in the third round with a hole-in-one. It was pretty amazing. But just talk about how that round, and did you feel like you needed to shoot something like that to make the cut, or was that just it just kind of happened? But just talk about that sparkling 64 with a hole-in-one, by the way, just to top it off.
Yeah, no, that was definitely one of the most stressful rounds of my life. I was right on the cut number going into that third round, and I came out and I birdied one that helped settle the nerves a little bit, but then followed it up with a bogey on 2, just got me right back to that cut line. And just that whole front 9 was kind of going back and forth. I made couple birdies, couple bogeys, but then on 8 there, it was 200 yards. The pin was back right, and I just hit like a little cut 6-iron. I actually pushed it a little bit. I was more just trying to hit something on the middle and hopefully get it to feed back there, but I pushed it, and it just happened to land like 8 feet short and perfectly rolled in. My caddy actually, it didn't even see it go in, so he had no idea until all my group members started screaming and stuff. But no, that definitely was a much needed shot at the time being. I was right on the cut number still when I was on that 8th tee box, and then that dropped me 2 shots below the cut number, and then I ended up bogeying 9, and then that back 9, I knew it was definitely more gettable. I figured the front 9 there is probably about 2 to 3 shots harder than the front, and I knew there was going to be some birdie holes out there. I think I shot 31 maybe on the back 9, 31 or 32. I can't remember exactly, but no, it was definitely a great round to golf. I might have shot 30. I don't know. I can't even remember. But no, it was very stressful though for that front 9, and I have my mom there watching me, and she was just kind of smiling every time I'd make a birdie. And I mean, it ended up being really enjoyable, and definitely a round of golf that I'll always remember.
Absolutely, it was quite something. Like you said, you were right on the cut line entering the day. And then, obviously, 64 puts you well inside of it. But pretty awesome to obviously make the cut in a tournament like that. Awesome to have a hole-in-one in a tournament like that, obviously. I'm sure it means more when you have a hole-in-one and something like that than just a regular Saturday afternoon round with the boys, right? I'm assuming a hole-in-one in the Northeast Amateur is a little bit more little bit more meaningful, I would imagine. Maybe not as much money because you probably don't get free drinks for it, but
yeah, no, it was definitely meant a lot, and it was actually funny. The Northeast Dam is obviously like, you know, a focal point of my summer, and it's an event I really look forward to, but it's also very meaningful as far as, you know, affecting your ranking, stuff like that. And I had only had about a week to prepare because I got surgery to get my tonsils out right at the beginning of June. So I was
jeez.
basically out of golf for about a week and a half, and then I had kind of a week I practiced super hard, and you know, didn't really want to go in there with too high of expectations, since I knew I wasn't quite as prepared as probably most of the other guys in the field. But no, I mean, that's why, you know, it partly was a little bit unexpected, but definitely made the feeling even better.
Absolutely. So now we fast forward a couple of weeks. RI Amateur at Kirkbride, starting tomorrow. Really, a really exciting stretch of golf here in Rhode Island for everybody. Not only for obviously the players, but for for spectators, for media, for myself. Kirkbride is my home course, as I've said. So I'm excited for a home game. I'm gonna park myself right at the bar upstairs and write and take pictures and write some more and take more pictures. And that's pretty much what I'm going to do the whole week. So super excited for that. Talk about, you know, you said you played a practice round there earlier this week. Talk about some of the changes. I know you mentioned it briefly, but Kirkbride has done a number of changes over the years. A lot of the greens are different. In fact, I was talking to Brad Vloy. Was talking to people from Riga, and they said that they figure there's about 12 pin placements on every hole. But talk about, you know, how you prepare for the different conditions, and you know, the more about the course after your
Yeah,
practice round.
the course is definitely, you're going to be hitting, you know, I figure, at least for me, I'll be hitting a lot of wedges into these greens, and they are so pitched, and they're going to be soft with all that rain we just had. So there's definitely going to be a premium on kind of controlling your spin. I think a lot of people are going to have to kind of try to feel that out at the beginning of their rounds, and guys are going to be spinning off greens like crazy, because the greens are going to be, you know, quite fast, I would assume, as they always are over there. And you know, them redoing a few of those greens will definitely help a little bit, but for the most part, they're still extremely pitched. So it's definitely going to be, you know, a couple days you're going to need a complete ball control, you know, your approach shots. But you know, I think, you know, with all the wedges in, you have a few reachable par fives. You know, I definitely think there's plenty of scoring opportunities out there too.
Now the first two rounds are stroke play, medal play. Last year, Pawtucket, you either tied or set the course record. I can't remember off the top of my head at Pawtucket in the medal play portion. Obviously, took the number one seed. But just in general for medal play, you know, how much stock do you put into it? How much, you know, how important is it to you? I mean, some guys have said that, you know, like Jamie Lucas, we had him on episode 1, and he said that he tries to play well in the medal play portion. Obviously, you know, you need to make the top 32 cut. You know, we get that, but he tries to play well in the medal play portion because he doesn't want to draw, you know, somebody like Bobby Leopold in the first round, or you know, he wants a easier quote unquote road. But then I talked to a guy like Ty McCormick, and he says you're gonna have to play these guys anyway if you want to win, and you know, you're just trying to get in. So what is there like a line? Is there a balance? What do you think about the stroke play portion of the tournament the first 2 days?
Yeah, my goal whenever I'm in either a qualifier or something like a state amateur where it's, you know, you're qualifying to get into match play, I've always found that the strategy that really works for me is just to go try to win that you know, stroke play portion. I think that gives you usually a little more room for error, and like when you train your brain to just focus on winning, you're more likely to end up a higher seed anyway. It's kind of the same thing with, you know, if you're playing in a really strong field and you're just trying to make the cut, you always seem to kind of end up on that cut number. With, you know, sometimes you end up making it by a couple of shots, or sometimes more often than not, you'll end up missing usually by a couple of shots. It's just kind of whatever you set your mind to, it's kind of what you end up for the most part achieving. So, I mean, I always just say, I want to go win, get the one seed, and then, you know, I'll more than not, or more than likely, playing at least my best golf. But that's just kind of my philosophy. Other guys have different philosophies, and yeah, Tommy McCormick's right. You're going to have to go through some very good players, obviously, but no, I think it's always just a challenge and a reward to get that 1 seed.
Now, this RI amateur is going to be special for you, I would think, because your dad's actually playing in the tournament. I think he's just a couple of tee times ahead of you, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe that's never happened for you guys before. I think you guys have tried in the past, and it hasn't worked out. But what's that going to be like, knowing that your dad's playing the tournament? And what if you draw him in match play? Is that like family bragging rights, or how does that whole thing work?
No, that's something we talk about a lot, actually, and it's pretty funny. I mean, we talk about it with my mom a lot, and we're like, well, if we both make match playing, we have to play each other. Like, who are you gonna root for? It's kind of a funny, conversation we have in our family all the time. But no, he's still a good player, and he's getting up there now. So he's approaching the senior divisions, and but he's still got some good golf left. And I mean, he can compete at this level still. So I tell him, you may as well just go out there and give it your best and, see what happens, because anything can happen once you get into match play.
Absolutely. I mean, there's obviously you can be upsets and different things, but that would be something that if you guys, well, one, if you both get into match play, I'm sure you're going to be a match player, so I don't think you're too worried about that. But on his end, I'm sure that would be quite special. And I know, like I said, if I'm not mistaken, he's a few tee times ahead of you, so certainly a family affair for you guys this week. This is the our amateur is obviously a grind, right? It's 6 days. If you make it all the way, do you go into the week with a game plan? And if so, can you talk about some of your game plan? I mean, how do you pace yourself? How do you make sure you get your rest in and everything? Because obviously match play just in general is a grind, and then obviously the intensity of it and the pressure of it and the whole thing. So how do you pace yourself? How do you get yourself through the week, whether physically or mentally or both?
Yeah, it's definitely both a physical and mental battle. The fact that you are allowed to take carts definitely helps. Generally college tournaments and stuff like that, where we're walking 36 with that heavy bag on our backs, it can be very physically draining, but it feels like even more so mentally draining. That's really the battle that I've found is more of a grind. It's just like, if you win a match, like, you're happy and you're like, you're all pumped up, but then it's like, well, you get to reset, especially on those 36 whole days, like Thursday and stuff like that. You're like, now you get to refocus and get ready for your next match. It's just like, it seems like one punch after the other in an event like this. If you want to win, you're just going to have to mentally will your way to the finals and through that finals match. But yeah, no, it's definitely mentally and physically grueling as far as the amount of golf played over those 6 days.
Now, when you play in tournaments like this, whether it's the R amateur, the Northeast amateur, or whatever other amateurs you play in U.S. amateur qualifying, which I know was this past week at Crestwood. Do you think that playing at a school like Notre Dame, playing at a high level college, how does that help you? Do you think, or it doesn't help you at all?
No, yeah, it definitely helps. I mean, the fields we get into we're very fortunate. We're in the ACC, so we're playing a lot of the Wake Forest, Clemson's, Florida State's, a lot of the top 10 teams in the country. And we just see like the highest level of play, and a lot of times the most difficult courses in the country. So it's when you come back here, a lot of times it's more that old style course of target golf. It's pretty different style golf courses, but frankly, a lot of them seem much easier just from going those college courses that are like 7,500 yards, and then you finally come back here and see something in the 6,000 yards, and it's just like, wow, that's awesome. So I mean, it definitely helps. You have a lot more wedges in around here, and a school like Notre Dame definitely prepares you better for courses around here and at the next level as well, hopefully.
Now you're going into your senior year at Notre Dame. Obviously, you guys made the NCAA tournament last year. Just missed the cut line for the national championship round, if you will. But just talk about that run, because that was the first time Notre Dame has been there in a few years at least, right? If I'm not mistaken. So just talk about that run for you guys.
Yeah, it definitely had been a long time coming. We hadn't made the NCAA tournament since 2012, and then last year we we're ranked fifth or sixth in the country at the end of the fall portion of the season. Then obviously the spring got canceled due to COVID. So, we were just all super focused this year, and we had a solid regular season, and knew we were going to be a contender if we can get into that national championship. But yeah, we just kind of came out slow in our regional, and it was at a very difficult course. We were at Oklahoma State's course called Karsten Creek, and it's definitely one of the more penal, or it's definitely the most penal course I've ever played. And it's just like, if you're not on, it can be so difficult. And unfortunately, the course got the best of us the first round, and we were kind of just battling back. And we played real well that last year. I think we had the second lowest round, second to only Oklahoma State. Obviously, it's their home course, so they had a pretty big advantage there. But no, we gave it all we had, and we showed a lot of heart. But yeah, I think we ended up missing by 3 or 4 shots, I want to say. But it was still a good experience, and we have the same exact team returning as far as our starting lineup. So we're looking forward to getting back there next year and hopefully having a little different result.
Right, and Davis is returning. Davis Chatfield, who obviously is red hot this summer, he's returning to school next year for is 1 extra year granted by NCAA. You're going to be a senior. Palmer Jackson obviously is a great player. Yeah, see, I know your team. I know the guys. I study. So it should be hopefully a big year for you guys. So let me ask you this. So 2 things on college golf that are interesting. One of them obviously is a recent development. Another one is a recent interest that has kind of been brought to my attention somewhat with the World Amateur Golf Rankings. But let me ask you this about the new rules regarding the name, image, license deals. I think Barstool has pretty much signed every college athlete that there is, it seems like. But for you personally, is that something that you've looked into, are looking into? Something that maybe you can't talk about because you're in the process of it. But what's your take on that whole situation? Like I said, it feels like Barstool has signed every college athlete on the planet.
Yeah, the Barstool one is definitely just like basically everyone's doing it. But as far as other ones, we have kind of been told to hold off for a minute since, like, with the USGA, accepting things could affect your amateur status and stuff like that. So I haven't done anything that would jeopardize anything like that. So I'm just kind of taking it easy right as far as right now. And once I get more information, maybe reach out to some other people and see. But I mean, it's definitely, I think it's a plus. I think it's pretty cool. And it's been a long time coming, in my opinion, at least. So I think it's definitely a good thing for college athletes, and I look forward to hopefully capitalizing on it if the USGA allows for that.
Absolutely. The USGA and the RNA recently, the last week or 2 maybe, said that they would allow amateurs to have that kind of thing as long as they have a college affiliate, as long as they're still in college, basically, something along those lines. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. I feel like that was, like you said, a long time coming, and maybe we can get an NCAA golf video game, like for NCAA Golf 21, 22 or something, right? We can play as Andrew O'Leary.
Yeah, I'd play.
In Notre Dame. So that was one thing that was interesting to me, and thanks for the honest answer. I just think it's a fascinating time in college athletics, whether you're a golfer or a college basketball player. And like I said, every day I see this person sign with Barstool, this person sign with whatever the other brands are. So I just think it's a fascinating thing. And since you're a local, I figured no better person to ask. The other thing that's kind of come up in our interviews, and as I told you off the air, I didn't really know much about it. I just figured, kids have better things to do, or bigger and better tournaments to play, which could be true. And that is the World Amateur Golf Ranking. So one of the things that has come up, and people have asked us, is Davis Chatfield playing? Is Patrick Walsh playing? Is Andrew O'Leary playing? And whoever else you want to, whoever other collegiate you want to put in that's local. And the general answer, obviously, you're playing, but these other guys aren't playing. And to be fair, Patrick lives on the other side of the country now. But talk about, for you, how much do you think about the World Amateur Golf Rankings? And if it is a factor, obviously they are amateur, from my understanding, doesn't get a lot of world amateur ranking points. If in fact, somebody said that if they were to come here and win, they'd actually lose points, even though they won the tournament. And again, that's just from my understanding. I'm trying to learn more about it myself because it's not something that I never really thought of. I mean, I knew there was the amateur rankings, but I never really thought too much about it. But how much of a factor is the amateur rankings for you? And if it is a factor, what's your thought process behind playing in this tournament for the third straight year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely, it's not something I've been super focused on in the past until as of recently. I've probably started to focus on it a little more now that I'm getting my ranking higher and higher, and I'm kind of now on the cusp of getting into like some really top level tournaments. Things like the Northeast Amateur, which I weren't like, I was exempt for the Northeast Amateur because I won Rhode Island Am, but like there are other tournaments like that out there, like the Western Amateur, that you need to be ranked a certain number to be eligible. So you get thousands of people trying to get those 300 or so spots, get inside that top 300. That's kind of like the key number. And if you're not in that, then you're kind of stuck in playing in just other more local tournaments for your summers. And for me, I mean, I've been climbing the rankings, but a tournament like the Rhode Island Amateur, where you don't have a ton of like college kids playing or people with even world amateur golf rankings, it just doesn't rank it as highly because of that. So that if I were to come, like for example, last year I came in second place, and my ranking fell a pretty significant margin just because it said I lost to someone that was ranked behind me, and it expects me to win since my ranking was at least decent at the time. Since then, my ranking's gone up a pretty good margin, and I'm not sure what would happen to it if I even won. I'm not sure if it would go up or down or what, but hopefully it would go up. But it's definitely just strength of field is so important with World Amateur Golf ranking that a lot of people like Davis are kind of shy away from it a little bit, just because in case something happens, like they don't want, because Davis is inside that 300 number, he can get into any tournament he wants. So I don't blame him, obviously. And guys, I think get scared that their ranking is just gonna plummet if they don't win. So it's definitely something that I think is kind of an issue. I think everyone should want to play in their state amateur. I think it's a great thing to try to go and win. And I'm not sure how that could be resolved, but yeah, no, it's just kind of guys, college players like to just kind of play in those Northeast Amateur, those like regional amateur tournaments with other college kids. It's just kind of what they stick to because of that.
So then for you, right, like you said, you're rising in the amateur rankings. You said last year obviously you finished runner up to Jamie Lukowitz in a great match, and your ranking actually fell because kind of like in college basketball or any other college sport, if a nationally ranked team loses, they drop. So it's similar to that. Obviously, it's not apples to apples, but it's similar, something like that. So then for you, I mean, straight up, what brings you back other than obviously you want to try to win it, and it obviously avenged last year. But what brings you back then if that is the case?
Yeah, I mean, I like the tournament. I mean, I really like to. I would like to chance at least to win another state amateur. I think it's just a really cool feat, and I also feel somewhat of a sense of loyalty to Bob Ward and all the RIGA guys, Jim McKenna, Joe P. I just kind of like seeing them at least once a summer and interacting with them since they've been good to me in the past, and I just don't want to completely leave them in the dust per se. I just kind of I feel like I owe that to them at least, to just come back and play in there. The biggest term of the summer, I guess, for them.
Now, one more thing on this. I don't want to keep you too long, because I find it interesting, and I'm learning about it myself, kind of through different interviews. And like I said, we've done 9 episodes, and pretty much all 9 episodes have featured this because it's an interesting topic. But I think it was Hamilton or Bobby Leopold said that one interesting thing that the USGA could do is make it so that every state amateur champion for that particular year gets an automatic berth in the U.S. amateur, and maybe that would help drive more attention to the state amateur. But I guess my question would be, and perhaps you don't necessarily have the answer. Obviously, you're in the middle of it and you're in college, but what can what can the state of Rhode Island do, or RIGA do, or the USGA do? Is there any way to get that ranking up and make the RI amateur more important? Because I'm assuming, and I don't know this for sure, but I'm assuming there's other state amateurs around the country that have more ranking points. I'm assuming, like I would guess the Massachusetts state amateur probably, they seem to get a decent field every year, and I would guess their ranking points are probably up there. So do you think there's anything that they can do? I mean, I thought Hamilton's idea, or again, Hamilton or Leopold, whoever it was, I thought that was a kind of a cool idea. But could something like that work? What do you think? Can anybody do anything to kind of change the tide of this?
Yeah, I do think that's probably the best idea, at least that I've heard. I heard that from I think Bob Ward talked about that too last year at the AM, and he was talking to me about similar things with why some guys aren't playing in their state AMs, and it's not just a Rhode Island thing; it's obviously all across the country, and some obviously Rhode Island's at a disadvantage since it is so small, and there only can be so many great players in such a small geographic location, but. Yeah, I think the exemption to the state AM would definitely bring more guys into the, or exemption to the USAM would bring more guys into their state amateurs. That would definitely attract guys. But yeah, I mean, I would say I would agree that that's the best way to go with it. But I mean, that couldn't right just be something that Rhode Island comes up with. You would need all the different state golf organizations to come together and kind of propose that. But yeah, I think it would be interesting to see. I feel like it would be valid. I mean, I think every state amateur champion is good enough to compete at the USAM. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be. So, I mean, I would definitely say that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, whoever, I don't want to give credit to the wrong person, but whoever said it, I thought that was interesting, because I think, for you guys and for most people, at your guys' level, if you can just come and win the RIAM, and I say just come and win it, like it's like nothing. Obviously, it's a grind, but for you guys, yourself, Davis, even Patrick, I know he's struggling with his game a little bit, but generally speaking, you guys can come in here and you know that you have a legitimate chance to win, and you have a better, almost as good of a shot of getting into the USAM by winning the RIAM as you do by qualifying at Crestwood. It would feel like to me. Again, I used to think of golf, but for you guys, it would seem that way. So I just think it was interesting. I don't want to spend too much more time on it, but I just think it's an interesting thing, and it's been a fascinating topic over the last few weeks that I've been doing this, because it's come up. And like I said, I didn't know much about it, admittedly. I tried to learn on the fly and kind of figured out, and everyone's pretty much said the same thing. And so I just thought it'd be interesting to ask you about. So two more things on this week with the Rhode Island Amateur. How do you flip the switch from the stroke play portion to the match play portion? Obviously, it's not the same days, which makes it easier. But how do you flip that switch mentally from stroke play to match play?
Yeah, stroke play is a little more, I don't want to say quite conservative mindset, but you have to play very smart and strategic. And then once you get into match play, you can kind of switch your brain a little bit, and it's more of just a battle. I mean, it's whoever, I feel like whoever wants it more in match play is going to end up winning. So you can be a little more aggressive at times, obviously, since it doesn't matter if you make a 10 on a hole. It's more of a competition of who's going to make the most birdies, and who's going to just mentally will themselves to a victory. So that's just the strategy I take, at least, and it's definitely, there's a little more aggression there, a little more want, I guess, involved.
Absolutely. So I just think it's an interesting concept. I think somebody I talked to, one of the guys I interviewed, said one year they had the stroke play portion finish on like Tuesday morning. Then they started match play in the afternoon. And I forget what year exactly this happened. I have to go back and look, but they said that made it more difficult to flip the switch, as opposed to currently where it's 2 different days. It makes it kind of easier to kind of come down off the stroke play and then flip it for the next day. So I think that's an interesting concept, because it's 2 different games basically, obviously. And then lastly, to get you out of here, I'm sure you have a big steak dinner to go eat before tomorrow's tournament, or whatever you got to do. Maybe you got to go to the driving range and hit more balls. I don't know. I've asked everybody this. Some guys are giving serious answers. Some have kind of wussied out a little bit. Who would you say, who's the favorite this week? Is it a Kirkbride guy? Is it a guy like Mike Hamilton? Is it yourself? You can pick yourself if you want. You've been to the finals the last 2 years, so you're probably the guy, I would say. But what do you think? Who's the favorite?
I mean, I would say myself. I think you need confidence to win something like this. So I'm not gonna pick anyone else. I would definitely say that I'm the front runner.
You've been to the finals the last 2 years, so no one can. The only person that can say otherwise is Jamie Lukowicz, who obviously who won last year, but nobody else has a can hold the candle to that at the moment. So we'll see what happens. But Andrew, thanks so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. Good luck this week. I'll be at Kirkbride just about every day, so look forward to talking to you in person. And again, good luck this week, and thanks for taking some time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. That's Andrew O'Leary, University of Notre Dame golf star. He's off tomorrow morning, or I think it's the afternoon actually, with Derek Audette, my friend of mine, by the way, in the first round of the Raleigh Amateur. That's tomorrow at Kirkbride. We'll have coverage starting early in the morning and coverage throughout the week on GolfNewsRI. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we will talk to you guys soon.